Hi folks, Ariel over here at Fina, where today I'm doing another veggie cooking video. This is a head of cabbage out of my garden. I did pick the rest of the heads since it's been down to 0 out there now. Cabbage is pretty cold tolerant, as I've talked about before. It's hardy down into even the teens, but 0 is getting pretty low and you start to see damage on the outside leaves. What I'm doing there is just quartering it and cutting out the hearts. You can eat the hearts. They have a different texture, and so they will cook differently than the rest of the leaves. One reason I don't like cooking them together. You can also, there's a good chance your dog might like them. Barely does. Or if you don't like the texture, they can simply go back into your compost and turn into more food next year. It's not going to waste. It's just recycling it. This one grew its heart kind of crooked right there. As you can see, sometimes they're straight up and down, but that one is not. Cabbage is one of my favorite veggies. Some people don't like it and they say, "Ooh, boiled cabbage, that's gross," and so on. If you think you don't like it, I recommend that you try this. Pretty cheap, inexpensive. Cabbage is super nutritious. Even if you don't grow your own, it's very easy to and inexpensive to purchase at a grocery store. So I recommend you try a few other ways of cooking it because you might discover you really like it. The way I do it, I think it almost has a like sweet corn flavor. Not quite, but something close to that when I cook it. And I'm just trying to make smallish pieces here that would be like a bite-sized piece. So I cut it in slices and then kind of those into thirds or quarters. I had really nice cabbage this year as well. Really nice dense heads. Sometimes the leaves, so these leaves, you could see it better when it was whole, but they're all growing in circles around here, but you can see how dense that is. It's not full of lots of air gaps and such, and that's what you want in a good head of cabbage. This is my favorite way to eat cabbage, just as a side dish with a meal. I'm actually going to have it with some beets and sardines for my lunch today. But there's other great ways to use cabbage. I like throwing it into any kind of soup with veggies. I like making it into sauerkraut, and if I get a chance I will probably do a video on how to make sauerkraut. I think that's one of the easiest fermented veggies to start out with. Now I'm only going to cook half the head right at the moment because that's going to be enough for me, and I'll probably in a day or so cook the other half of this head. We're just going to put it in a bag there to keep it from getting all dried out in the meantime, since I have now cut into it. So all that's in this pan right now is cabbage. Cabbage, it has a lot of moisture in it, just naturally. There's a lot of water in cabbage. So if you add a little salt, if you're getting something ready ahead of time, you could even let the salt sit on it and it would start drawing water all on its own. This is a pink Himalayan salt. Highly encourage you to always use some kind of real unrefined salt. It means it should be some color unless it's actually evaporated sea salt other than pure white because of the other minerals in there. And I'm going to add just a tiny bit of water, like only like a tablespoon, because it really does cook out a lot of moisture. I don't want this boiling away in like a soup, so we just want to basically steam it, water fry it. I've heard some people call it whatever. It's the same way I cook the vast majority of my veggies. So I'm going to put it on the burner. This is beets cooking over here. Turn that on, down kind of low. And I do want a lid on there as it gets started because I want to keep the steam in. And that, you can see how it's piled up right now. That's very rapidly going to shrink because cabbage is, like a lot of other leafy greens, it's as the moisture starts to cook out, it shrinks quite a bit. Now cabbage does not take long. That's only going to take 4 or 5 minutes till that's done. We're just going to let it steam there for a bit and check back in on it. Okay, so it's been just a couple minutes here. You can see how the cabbage is kind of turning a brighter green. It does become a more intense green as it cooks, and again it cooks pretty rapidly. I can see a few of these densest little bits in the heart aren't quite soft yet, so it's going to need just another minute. but you can kind of see how there's juice cooking out of there. There's a little more, even though it's been steaming, there's a little more water in there than I put in, even though it's been also losing moisture. Now I'm going to actually add a little more salt, because when you try to grind the salt on there while it's fresh and piled up, it likes to all bounce off. So now that it's a little softer, it can the salt can kind of blend in with the flavors instead of just bouncing off onto the counter. And you can also see how much it has shrank. I'm going to let that steam for just another second, but you can see the lid seals down quite tightly on it now, and it's going to be done very shortly. Okie doke, this is pretty soft. I'm going to leave the lid off for just the last second here to evaporate the remaining little bit of moisture out of there. You can see how the more outside leaves of the cabbage get a brighter green, the inside heart stays pretty pale yellow, just because it never really got exposed to the sun because it was buried under the outer leaves, and so therefore it couldn't make any chlorophyll. So that is good. And again, you could add a little oil if you like. My favorite version of that is a little bit of Kerrygold butter, a good natural grass-fed butter. You could use coconut oil, olive oil, whatever you like. Turning the heat off there, and I'm going to add one more grinding of salt, because cabbage kind of soaks up a lot of salt, and that brings out the wonderful flavors. And I know people talk about boiled cabbage having a horrible smell. I've never boiled cabbage, but this does not have a smell. It has a buttery, nutty kind of flavor. So if you have had bad experiences with cabbage, I do encourage you to try other ways to cook and enjoy a very nutritious and inexpensive veggie in your diet, because I really, really enjoy cabbage. And today I am having it with a little bit of beets and sardines for my lunch here. And I will have enough left to have, kind of like the beets, I should be able to have a second lunch and just reheat quickly. Doesn't that look delicious and tasty? Hi folks, Ariel over here. Thanks for spending some of your valuable time watching these videos. Hopefully you found something beautiful, educational, interesting, peaceful, relaxing, or useful while you are here. If so, find more videos here, subscribe so you don't miss any updates, and if you like what you found here, feel free to like and share away so that others can benefit as well. You all have a wonderful day.